What's going on today, guys? Rob here. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a Legendary Hero deck profile. This is the Phantom Knights deck that comes in the Legendary Hero decks box. This deck is actually really cool, and it's one of the decks that I've actually wanted to build competitively for a while. I just never really got around to doing it. So having access to some of these cards is actually really nice. And it's cool to see a casual version of Phantom Knights that I can basically turn into a competitive at any point in time. Before we get started though, I just want to say if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing for more fun Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Without wasting any more of your time, let's get into it. Alright guys, let's get into this Legendary Heroes Phantom Knights deck profile. Starting off, we've got double copies of the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. If this card is in attack position, you can target one dark monster on the field and change this card to defense position. And if you do, that monster gains 800 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard and add one the Phantom Knights card from your deck to your hand, except the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. You can only use each effect of Ancient Cloak once per turn. Next up, we have double copies of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. If you control the Phantom Knights monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots once per turn this way. And you can banish this card from your graveyard and add one Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots once per turn. Next up, we have double copies of the Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves. A Dark Xyz monster that was summoned using this card on the field as Xyz materials gains this effect. If it is Xyz summoned, it gains 1000 attack. You can banish this card from your graveyard and send one Phantom Knights card from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use each effect of Ragged Gloves once per turn. Next up, we have two copies of the Phantom Knights of Cloven Helm. If a Phantom Knights card or cards is sent to your graveyard, this card gains 500 attack. You can banish this card from your graveyard, and during the end phase of this turn, add one Phantom Knights card from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect of the Phantom Knights of Cloven Helm once per turn. Next up, we have double copies of the Phantom Knights of Fragile Armor. If a face-up, the Phantom Knights monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard and send one Phantom Knights card from your hand to the graveyard and draw one card. You can only use each effect of the Phantom Knights of Fragile Armor once per turn. Next up, we have one copy of Armageddon Knight. When this card is summoned, you can send one dark monster from your deck to the graveyard. Next, we have one copy of Blue Mountain Butter Spy. This card cannot be normal or summoned or set. And when you normal summon a warrior monster, you can special summon this card from your hand and cannot be used as synchro material. Next, we have Rescue Ferret. So you can shuffle this card that you control into the deck and special summon monsters from your deck except Rescue Ferret, whose total levels equal 6 to your zones that a link monster or monsters point to, but those summoned monsters have their effects negated. Also destroy them during the end phase. You can only use this effect of Rescue Ferret once per turn. Next, we have Junk Forward. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then we have one copy of Kagamusha Knight. So when you normal summon at least or a level 3 monster, I should say, you can special summon this card from your hand, and this card cannot be used as synchro material. Next up we have Cock-a-Doodle-Doo. So if there are no monsters on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand as a level 3 monster. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no cards, you can special summon this card from your hand as a level 4 monster. And if this face-up card would leave the field, banish it instead. And lastly, for our monsters, we have one copy of Effect Veiler that allows you during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one effect monster your opponent controls. Negate the effects of that face-up monster that your opponent controls until the end of this turn. So that's it for the monsters. Starting off our spells, we have one copy of Twin Twisters, which lets you discard a card, then target up to 2 spell or traps on the field and destroy them. Then we have 2 copies of the Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Launch. During the main phase, you target one Dark Xyz monster that you control with no material, and special summon from your extra deck one Dark Xyz monster that has 1 rank higher than that monster you control, by using it as Xyz material, and if you do, attach this card as an additional material. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Dark Xyz monster you control, and attach one the Phantom Knights monster from your hand to that monster as material. Next up, we have the Phantom Knight Spear, or Phantom Knight Spear. Each time your opponent activates a card effect that targets the Phantom Knights monster or monsters you control, inflict 500 damage to your opponent immediately after it resolves. If a dark monster you control would be destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Next up, we have one copy of Dark Hole, which destroys all monsters on the field. And then we have one copy of Monster Reborn, which lets you target a monster in either graveyard and special summon it. And then we have Foolish Burial, which lets you send one monster from your deck to the graveyard. And then we also have one copy of Reinforcement of the Army, which lets you add one level 4 or lower warrior monster from your deck to your hand. And lastly, for our spells, we have Dark Eruption. This lets you target one dark monster with 1500 or less attack in your graveyard and add that target to your hand. That's it for our spells. Let's move on to the traps. So we have one copy of the Phantom Knights of Mistclaws. This lets you target one of your banished the Phantom Knights monster and add it to your hand. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while this card is in your graveyard, you can target one level 4 or lower the Phantom Knights monster in your graveyard and special summon that monster. And if you do, special summon this card as a normal monster with the same original level as that monster. Warrior, Dark Attribute, Attack and Defense 0. And if this card is summoned this way, banish it when it leaves the field. Next we have one copy of the Phantom Knights Fogblade. Activate this card by targeting one effect monster on the field. Negate that face-up monster's effects, and that face-up monster cannot attack. Also, monsters cannot target that face-up monster for attacks, and when this card leaves the field, or when it leaves the field, destroy this card. And you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one the Phantom Knights monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of the Phantom Knights Fogblade once per turn. Next up, we have two copies of Phantom Knight's Sword. Activate this card by targeting one face-up monster on the field. it gains 800 attack, and also if that target would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy this card instead. When it leaves the field, destroy this card, and you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 the Phantom Knights monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but again, banish it when it leaves the field. And you can only use this effect of the Phantom Knight's sword once per turn. Next up, we have double copies of Phantom Knight's Wing. This lets you target 1 face-up monster on the field, and it gains 500 attack. Also, the first time that target would be destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, it is not destroyed. You can banish this card from your graveyard and target 1 the Phantom Knights monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but again, banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of Phantom Knight's Wing once per turn. Next up, we have double copies of the Phantom Knights of Shadow Vale. Target 1 face-up monster you control. It gains 300 attack and defense, and when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while this card is in your graveyard, special summon this card in defense position as a normal monster. Warrior Dark, level 4, 0 attack, 300 defense, and if summoned this way, banish it when it leaves the field. Next, we have 1 copy of Shade Burgundy. Special summon this card in defense position as a normal monster. Warrior Dark, level 4, attack 0, defense 300. And if you have no traps in your graveyard, you can activate this card the turn it was set. You can only activate 1 Phantom Knights of Shade Burgundy per turn. Next up, we have the Phantom Knights of Dark Gauntlets. This lets you send 1 Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, and when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while you control no cards and this card is in your graveyard, special summon this card in defense position as an effect monster. Warrior Dark, level 4, attack 300, defense 600, but banish it when it leaves the field. If summoned this way, this card gains 300 defense for each Phantom Knight spell or trap in your graveyard. Next, we have the Phantom Knights of Tomb Shield. Special summon this card in attack position as a normal monster. Warrior Dark, level 3, attack 0, defense 0. During your turn, except the turn that this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 face-up trap that your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Next, we have the Phantom Knights of Lost Vambrace. Target 1 face-up monster on the field, and if that target is still face-up on the field, the Phantom Knights monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, that target loses 600 attack. Also, its level becomes 2. These effects last until the end of this turn. Then, special summon this card in defense position as a normal monster. Warrior Dark, level 2, attack 600 and defense 0. And lastly, for our traps and our main deck, we have 2 copies of the Phantom Knights of Wrong Magnet Ring. So, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, negate that attack, then special summon this card in attack position as an effect monster. Warrior Dark, level 2, attack and defense 0. With the following effect. Quick effect, you can send this card and 1 face-up card you control to the graveyard, either the Phantom Knights monster or Phantom Knights continuous spell or trap, and draw 2 cards. So that's it for our main deck. Let's move on to our extra deck, starting off with our only Link monster, which is the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche, who requires 2+ dark monsters. During your main phase, you can send 1 the Phantom Knights monster from your deck to the graveyard, then set 1 Phantom Knight spell or trap directly from your deck to your spell and trap zone. And if a Dark Xyz monster or monsters is special summoned to a zone or zones that this card points to, while this monster is on the field, except during damage calc or the damage step, you can target one card on the field and destroy it. You can only use each effect of the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche once per turn, and this card cannot be used as link material. Next up, we have one copy of number 86, Heroic Champion Rogo Minayad. I'm going to say 2 or more. This requires 2 or more, maximum 5, level 4 warrior monsters. And once per turn, during your opponent's end phase, detach one material from this card, and this card gains effect based on the number of materials attached to it. So if it has 1+, it cannot be destroyed by battle. If it has 2+, it gains 1500 attack and defense. And if it has 3+, it's unaffected by other card effects. If you have 4+, your opponent cannot normal summon or special summon monsters. And if it has 5, once per turn, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. Next up, we have one copy of the Phantom Knights of Breaksword. This requires 2 level 3 monsters. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one card you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. If this Xyz summoned card is destroyed, you can target 2 the Phantom Knights monsters with the same level in your graveyard and special summon them, and increase their levels by 1. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except dark monsters. Next up, we have one copy of Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, which requires 2 level 3 monsters. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card and choose a number from 1 to 3. Then send that many cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard. Till the end of this turn, this card gains 500 attack for each card sent to the graveyard this way. If this card attacks, it is changed to defense position at the end of the battle phase. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Burning Abyss card, in your graveyard, except this card, and add it to your hand. Next, we have one copy of Levayer the Sea Dragon, which requires 2 level 3 monsters. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one banished level 4 or lower monster and special summon that target to your field. Next, we have one copy of Evil Swarm Thanatos, which requires 2 level 4 dark monsters. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, and this face-up card is unaffected by other monsters' effects for this turn. Then we have one copy of Evil Swarm Nightmare, which requires 2 level 4 dark monsters. When your opponent special summons a monster or monsters except during the damage step, you can detach one material from this card and change that special summon monster or monsters to face down defense position. Next, we have one copy of Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon, which requires 3 level 5 monsters. If this card has Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon as material, it gains these effects. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change its attack to 0, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster's original attack. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, negate its activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then you can special summon one Xyz monster from your graveyard. Next up, we have one copy of the Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin, which requires 2 level 2 monsters. You can detach one material from this card, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, and until the end of this turn, change that monster's attack to 0. Also, negate its effects. This is a quick effect, and if this card has the Phantom Knights monster card as material, you can only use this effect of the Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin once per turn. And lastly, for our extra deck, we have one copy of Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, which requires 2 level 4 monsters. You can detach 2 materials from this card, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack becomes half its current attack, and if it does, this card gains that lost attack. Alright guys, that's it for this Phantom Knights deck profile from the Legendary Hero Decks box. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and consider commenting on other deck profiles you might want to see. I do have some more deck profiles coming up, and if you guys already aren't subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing for more fun Yu-Gi-Oh videos, and I will catch you in the next one. That's game!